Today's lesson is on solving multi-step word problems, and I'm just gonna walk through a couple of the problems today and help you guys, strategize and figure out how to solve these problems and give you a couple of tips because word problems can be really hard to solve. But there's some easy things that you can do to help you wrap your brain around them. One, you need to remember that you have to be patient, okay? You can't just think it's not like a quick, you know, a quick addition problem that you're going to be able to do immediately right away. Some word problems, as you know, are like that. They're pretty easy. It's like, oh, well, he had 4 bananas, she had 6. How many did they have all together? At this point in your life, that's a pretty easy one to solve. But some of them are more complicated and they'll throw in numbers and stuff that you don't need sometimes, or the numbers are going to be doing different things. So you really need to take the time to read and look at the problem carefully. For those more complex problems, which these are because they're multi-step word problems, you really need to go through a couple of steps to solve them successfully. Number one, I recommend just reading the whole thing first. Don't even do anything. Just read the whole problem and then read it again and then read it again, okay? And the second time you read it, you're going to start underlining or pulling out the facts. And then the third time you're reading it, you're going to look at your plan and then figure out if you read it all correctly and if you're understanding it correctly. So let's start with on page 113, example 1. It says the music, I'm just going to read the whole thing through, and you guys can read it with me as I read it out loud. The music club had $390 in their account. At the concert, they earned $472. Afterwards, they had to pay $75 to rent the stage and $102 to rent the equipment. How much money is in their account now? Okay, so there we got the facts. We can wrap our brain around this whole situation. They're having a concert. They're taking in money, but then they're also having to pay things out to make this concert happen, right? So first is just comprehending the problem. What's going on with it? Now we can go back into the problem and pull out those numbers. Some people like to underline them. I like to write them over to the side and pull them out. So I'm going to write an A for an account here. So in their account, they have $390 to start with, okay? And then they earned $472. So I'm going to put a plus sign because we're going to be adding that to the equation, right? So we have $472. And then afterwards they had to pay out. Well, if they're paying out something, that means that they're going to have to subtract that from their amount. So I'm going to put a subtraction sign, and I'm going to put the $75. And, oops, make sure I wrote 75 and not 77. And then they also had to pay for the rental equipment, which was $102. Okay? And I'm going to write a subtraction sign there. So now I have all my numbers, right? How much is left in their account? So now I can figure out my problem. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to say, okay, well, they started with this number, and then they added that to it. So that's what I'm going to do first, is add those two numbers together. That's my first step. So I have 390 plus $472, and I add 2 and 16, and 4 and 4 is 8. So I have $862. And now I'm going to take this $75 and the $102. Since I see a 2 here and a 2 here, I'm going to shoot for that first and subtract that off first. So I'm going to go 102 and subtract that and get 760, 0, 6, and 7. Okay. And maybe I'll do this too. Put a little check. I did that. I added those two together, and now I need to subtract my 75. So I'm going to take my 75, get it off the 760. I need to borrow here. 10 minus 5 is 5. Oh, I need to borrow again because I cannot take 7 from 5. So I need to take 100 from my hundreds place and give it to my 50 in my tens place. So I have 150 minus 70, which is 80. And then I have 6 minus 0, which is 6. So in their account, even though they had to pay out some things, they still have $685 left in their account. And I'm going to make sure that I have my dollar sign because we are talking about dollars. That's the other thing in story problems that we want to make sure of, is that we do our label, because in story problems we're always talking about something, okay? So I finished my 75. I have all my numbers checked off. And you could even read the problem again if you just wanted to really check, double check your work. The music club had $390. They earned $472, so there's my addition. That makes sense. Afterwards, they had to pay $75 and $102. There goes my 102. There goes my 75, and here I end up with my answer. So all of that ends up making sense. Okay. All right, let's flip our page and head to the next one. So, and also you guys, at the top of page 116, it says the word equation. These are the equations that we wrote in our work, okay? The next page, on the top of the page, you're going to see the word variable. Variable is a very important thing to know. This has to do with algebra. You guys have seen this a little bit. But a variable is a letter of an unknown number, okay? So sometimes we'll see variables as X. Sometimes we'll see them as Y. Sometimes we'll see them as F. Sometimes we'll see them as R. Whatever we use for a variable. Sometimes they have to do with whatever's in our problem, and sometimes they're just random letters. But a variable is a letter that we use for an unknown number in a situation. So in this next case, we might be coming into that. So I'm going to read example 2 out loud to you. Here we go. 20 people got on the bus at the first stop. At the second stop, 14 people got off the bus. And then 5 people got on the bus. At the third stop, 2 people got off the bus and some people got on the bus. Ooh, some people. Ooh, I wonder how many that was. Then there were 24 people on the bus. How many people got on the bus at the third stop? Okay, so I'm going to wrap my brain around what I'm reading about now. I'm going to comprehend this story problem. And it's kind of good just to say it out loud. Well, this problem's talking about bus stops and about people getting on and off the bus at different stops. And there's 3 different stops that they're going to, right? So I'm going to set up my problem like this. I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to make a little chart. I have 1, 2, 3 stops, right? Because I really like visuals. And I have people getting on and people getting off at each stop. Okay, and so I'm going to do some pluses and minuses down the row here. And here we go. So we have 20 people got on the bus at the first stop. Okay, so we must assume that the bus was empty, right, when it started. At the second stop, 14 people got off the bus. Ooh, so that's going to be minus, right? 14 people got off the bus. And 5 people got on the bus. Ooh, 5 are getting on. So we're gonna have to add that because people are getting on the bus. At the third stop, here's my third stop. 2 people got off the bus. So off is subtracting. And some people got on the bus. Ooh, this is our question mark. So this is where this variable concept is gonna come into place. I'm going to use the variable b, okay? Because that's what your book uses, so let's just go with that. So we're not sure how many, but we know that in the end, there's going to be 24 people, okay? So now I have to figure out what is b, okay? How many people, because that's what it's asking me, how many people got on the bus at the third stop? Okay, so let's set this problem up. Well, you can do this in a lot of different ways. What I would recommend is taking what we do know. So we do know that 5 and B got off on the bus. So, and we know that 14 and 2 got off the bus. So 14 and 2, well, we can do that in our head, right? 14 and 2 is 16. So I might want to do that from the beginning. 20 minus 16, which equals 4, right? Because we round. And, or we borrow rather, not round. So we have 20 minus 16 equals 4, okay? So then I took care of my subtraction there. Subtract, and then we're going to add 5. So now we have 9, right? So we got rid of that. Oh, and we already took care of our 20. Okay, and then so it's 9 plus B equals 24. Okay, well, we know from our fact families that addition and subtraction kind of work together. So if you're adding on this side of the equation, if you're adding these two together to equal 24, we know because of our fact families that we can subtract to do the opposite. So with our fact families, we could have B plus 9 equals 24, but we could also have 24 minus 9 equals B. Okay, if we go back to our fact families, also we could have 24 minus B equals 9. So this is where algebra happens, you guys, is we use these things called fact families that we learned back in kindergarten and first grade, and we can apply them to finding unknown numbers. So we know that addition and subtraction are opposite, so we can move things around to be able to figure something out. So I'm going to use this problem here to figure out my B, 24 minus 9. So I'll come up here, write 24 minus 9, and we're going to borrow from that place value. And we have 14 minus 9 is 5. And 1 minus 0 is 1. And we have 15 people. Okay, B equals 15 people. And that's my answer. All right, and that is how we solve this multi-step problem. All right, let's try one more together. Let's jump over to page 115, number 4. I think that would be a good example to do together because that one looks a little like a lot of stuff going on in there. So page 115, number 4. Jump on over there. And this one says Hunter has 16 jars of paint. He used 2 of them on painting. He bought 8 more jars. Then he used some of the jars to make, there's that word some again. It looks like I might need a variable. Then he used some of the jars to make another painting. Now Hunter has 15 jars of paint. How many jars did he use for the second painting? All right, so let's try this out here. It looks like he has 2 paintings going on and he's buying some stuff. He's taking away some stuff. So I'm going to write up here that to start, I'm just going to write the word start, and he has 16 jars. Okay. So he has 16 jars of paint. He used 2 of them on a painting. So that means if he used them, that means we're getting rid of those, right? So we subtracted 2. So I'm going to write subtract 2. Then he bought, if he's buying more, he's adding them. So I'm going to write add 8. Okay, he added 8 more jars. Then he used some of the jars to make another painting. So he's going to subtract a certain amount, and I'm going to put subtract P because I don't know what that is. How many jars of paint is he using? Now he has, this is all going to equal 15 jars of paint. 15 jars. So now we need to figure out how many is P. Well, so let's take a look at this. We have a lot of stuff going on here.